All right. Here we are, folks, back at it again. We just don't quit. Welcome back to another stream here on Tuesday prior to Christmas. Looking forward to having a flight, hopefully with no emergencies, unlike our last stream. Today we are here at Osaka, which is our arrival airport from our last stream, in which we flew a Boeing 737-800 for Japan Air. In here, in which we had an interesting arrival. So today we're taking this E-195, full complement of passengers, of course, and we're going to take this from Osaka, and we are headed over to Nagasaki. Flying time today is about an hour and 20 minutes, so without further ado, let's get on. Just wanted to finish the walk around with you guys. So as you can see here, we are at a stand here in Osaka that is one of those stands that actually they just basically drive up and do a turnaround. So we've done the walk around, not a completely complex aircraft here, but nonetheless we must do it for every aircraft to make sure that everything is in order. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on the flight deck to our cold and dark cockpit. So now we can most certainly do what we do to get some energy or power on the aircraft. So let's go ahead and kick those batteries on. I want to say what's up, honey, to my wife and the chief sim pilot. Thanks for joining and supporting as always. We're going ahead to get the two batteries on, and we're going to get the nav lights on right now as the passengers continue to board, as well as use this ground power here in order to get some power on the aircraft. And as you can see, we have effectively done that. So let's go ahead and extinguish that noise and let the aircraft kind of come into its own. Let me fix my little view here. Kind of moving around everywhere. There we go. Now that that's on, we need to most certainly come down here and start messing with our FMS. So let's see here. Let me go ahead and initialize this bad boy. So what we need to do now is come over here to the nav, and you can see here we need to do some position initialization because the aircraft needs to know exactly where it's at. So let's do that. So we're doing that now, and then we can jump right into the route. This page is where we are going to fill out our origin and destination. So in this case, it's Romeo, Juliet, Oscar, Oscar for Osaka. And it is Romeo, Juliet, Foxtrot uniform for Nagasaki. Of course, I always fly with the designation of 318. So because we are flying for Japan Air, we'll just throw in Japan Air 318 right into the flight identification. Now we can activate it. Now one thing that is a little bit misleading about this aircraft is that once you get into the route, it's only page 101 here, and you say, well, where do I actually enter my route? Well, you'll actually click the next page, and then it automatically populates now 2 of 1. So there you go. Let's switch up the jams here a little bit. All right. So now that we have that done, the winds are variable. So let me pull in that trusty weather for you guys so that we can take a look at that, and you guys keep me honest here. All right, so the weather here at Osaka, again, it's only at 1 knot, and the winds are variable, meaning that they're not really any specific direction. But the last runway heading, I should say, that works out best for us would be 32, because the last was at out of the north at 320 degrees, so it almost makes sense that we would do that. QNH is 1026, and the temperature Celsius is 7 degrees, so we can go ahead and throw that QNH in now of 1026, and we'll know that we're going to use runway 32 left. So let's get the QNH situated here first before I forget, because you know I will. Alright, so let's see here. We need to switch this thing. I just had the little hand to switch it on over to where it is. Let's go this way here. Okay, now it should be, and it's 1026, so that's good. Now let's go over to the first officer side and make sure that's echoing the same, and it is. So we have 1026 on our actual altimeters. Had a little brain freeze there. Now we can go ahead and get into putting in the flight plan, of course. We're on the VATSIM network, no ATC. There may be pilots as usual around, but we will most certainly go ahead and check that out. Let's go ahead now down here and pull in this flight plan, and so that we can get a look at what the actual flight plan is. So first of all, here is the route here. The Tiger 2 is our SID, and the first fix or transition point from that SID is the WISU. Then we go on to an airway of Yankee 28 onto a fix of Delta Golf Charlie, back to an airway of Yankee 204 to a fix, which is also the transition point for the Star, Ogi, and then Fubuki. Fubuki is the arrival. So that is our route that we will be typing in. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our fuel here. So as you can see here, to our destination, which is Nagasaki, the fuel used will be 6,068 pounds with a flying time of 1 hour and 20 minutes. This is our contingencies for holds or anything else that we want to do or need to do in the air. And then if we hold in the contingency and decide that we can't land at Nagasaki, then we go to Fukuoka, which was actually our other second leg, which we didn't do on the last flight because of the aircraft problem. So that allows us 1,843 pounds of fuel to get there with a flying time of 33 minutes should we need to alter to that field. And then of course our final reserves is at 1,930 pounds for 30 minutes of additional fuel. I did add extra fuel of 1,000 pounds, which gives us basically another 13 minutes. So if you aggregate that here for the final reserve, it could be 43 minutes of additional flying time. So total fuel, including the taxi, will be 12,372 pounds. So before we even do anything else, I think it should be prudent of us to actually make sure our weights and everything are where they should be. So we're going to come to this little user interface that is here on this aircraft and load the fuel. So we have to go to option number 2. Let's see here. Once I get it right, there's option number 2. We're flying with the full aircraft, of course, and we'll set that payload. And then of course we only need, again, 12,372 pounds of fuel on board. So in essence we need to make that happen here. So right now the aircraft is at 14,000 pounds, so we need to come down some to our fuel spot. So now what we need to do is take it off FMC to where we can manually enter the fuel. So we will bring up the fuel by clicking this plus here to the 12,372 mark or thereabout. And it looks like that will be close enough. This is under, and this will be over the fuel that we need. So we can go ahead and now tell the plane that we want it to defuel, actually. So I'm not sure why this, and let's see if I change this, what happens. And see, I don't understand. It used to defuel itself. If you took this here, let's just try defuel here. That's about 14,000 pounds. Here, let's get this back up again. Simulator issues that we normally experience, some type of glitch, something going on, but we are not gonna worry about it. So there you go. Check in. What's up, Leonardo? How you doing? Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you here on the stream. And hopefully we don't have any issues today, but if not, you guys can most certainly give me a helping hand, because you know I'll need it. Alright, so let's go into the defuel here. And again, we'll just have to do it this way. So we're assuming 6,200 and let's say 15 pounds will be the mark where we are able to say this has been defueled. So again, this aircraft used to work where you would hit the defuel button and it would just take the fuel all the way down there. I don't know why it's like this now, but we are simply going to make it happen. So right now we're just carrying right along here, clicking the button as we do, because we got aircraft problems here. So we'll just defuel ourselves all the way down. We're still over 13,000 right now in each tank if you multiply them by 2. So let's just keep rolling down the numbers here. And again, at about 62 in each tank will be 64, so that'll be fine to me. Alright, moving right along. I apologize for this process, but anyway, we're going to keep it rolling. Right now we're about 12,700 pounds of fuel. Let's go all the way down Alright, 62 would leave 64. So we can essentially go right to 62, and that'll have us basically right at 12,400 pounds of fuel. So if your teacher's ever told you to, and it stopped right there, so it does at least stop when you try to go below that. So payload is set. And let's just make sure that's good to go. Alright, so the payload is set, so now we can most certainly come down, and we'll make sure as we do this that it also reflects that in the FMC under the performance measures. So again, let me scroll back down. We're leaving the Tiger 2, so now essentially what we can do is hit this nav and just hit departure. We are taking runway 32 left, and we will be using the Tiger 2 with a transition of Washu. Alright, so we're plugging that in, and we are satisfied with that, so we can activate that, of course. Now we can go back over to the route. Of course, click the next, don't let it fool you. So there is our departure with the transition, and then we said we are going to an airway next, which is Yankee 28. And then from Yankee 28, we're going to Delta Golf Charlie. Delta Golf Charlie's in there, and then Yankee 204 is our next airway. So Yankee 204. Again, I hope everybody's doing well out there. Next waypoint is Ogi. And thanks for joining the stream. I hope your week is going well so far. And hopefully we close it out with an awesome Christmas and on into the new year. So we'll see how that works out. All right, we've got Ogi in there, and then now, of course, we want to go ahead and put our arrival in there, which is going to be very simple. So our arrival is going to be the Fubuki, and Ogi Trans, we're not going to go ahead and select the runway yet until we get closer. Let's go back to the route data, and then check this out. And you see it added that in there, and then now, of course, we want to go over to the flight plan and make sure there are no discontinuities, which it doesn't look like there are. So that's looking good. Alright, so that'll be our waypoint there. Now let me go ahead before we even proceed beyond that, and let me show you where we're at on the field so we can just plan our taxi. That way we're not belaboring anything here, and we'll make this a short and sweet stream, straight to the point. So here we are here at our designated stand, which is gate 24, which this aircraft really flown is, I wrote it down and did some research on it. The flight that Japan Airlines, Japan Air actually flies is flight 2371. They do fly an E-190. We're flying an E-195, so a little bit of a variation there, not much. So if you guys want to check it out, you can go to FlightAware and type in Japan Air Flight 2371 and look at its actuality. It does depart and arrive at gate 24 at some time, so we went ahead and echoed that. So because we are leaving on runway 32 left, we're simply just going to take probably this external, this is probably echo here. Whatever this is, we'll come down to here where it merges in, and it looks like it becomes Bravo, and then we'll just take Bravo all the way down to Whiskey 1 and taxi that way. So that we know what we're saying on our announcements, we can assume this is Echo. So we're going to take Echo to, and it just looks like it turns right into Bravo, so we'll just say Bravo, and then Whiskey 1 is going to be our taxi route, folks. Too easy. Nothing can hold us down now. Alright, so now that this is done, we need to go into our performance initialization here. And then we can see some initial information here. This is our climb. Will be the aircraft once we get into VNAV, if we so choose to climb that way. We are going to be climbing at 0.78 Mach or 290 knots. And we are also going to be doing the same on the descent. And you can see, or it's 0.77 Mach because we'll be descending, and our cruise is at 0.78. And hey Leonardo, glad to see that you're doing good, brother, and all is well with me, so thank you for that, good sir. So after that, we need to come to the next page here, and our fuel reserve, we're just going to type in 3,000 pounds. That's basically what we have for fuel reserves here, which is good enough for us. And this is nothing here to worry about. Here's our contingency fuel here in pounds, which we could alter, but we're not going to. There's no need to. Our cruising altitude today will be 34,000 feet. So let's go ahead and jump that up in there. And transition altitude is 14,000 feet, so that is correct. And then now we have a gross weight of 99,540 pounds. The way we double check that to make sure that's accurate is we come up here and kind of make sure the math adds in. Our zero frill weight is 87,000 pounds. And that includes the payload weight. So then you just add 12,000 pounds to that. So 10 plus that is 87 or 97 plus the rest. So let's go down and look, and that makes sense. 99,540 is exactly what we need to do. Now that we know what our takeoff weight is, or our gross weight is 99,540, we can most certainly fix that up when we do our takeoff information. So in order to put the takeoff information here, we need to go to, let's see, I think it's back to perf, and now we're going to go to takeoff. Okay, and this is very important to do this as well. We don't really need to worry about the runway slope. It's a pretty flat runway here. Let's see both. If it's a big disparity in the runway elevations, then yes. In this case, the disparity of the runway elevation is essentially 15 feet. So basically no runway slope. So I'm not even going to even entertain this. But what we will do next is put in our flaps that we're departing on, which is flaps 2. And also we will put in our V speeds. Now the way that we put in our V speeds, we have to remember we're essentially at 99,000 pounds of fuel, which also too, if you come up over here to the first officer side and you look at the display here, here is another information display. If we leave it in the system status, that we can observe our flight number, the takeoff outside temperature 7 Celsius, and then here again is our gross weight of 99,542. So now how do you put these speeds in? Because this aircraft does not calculate it for you in the FMS. You've got to do that along with your pitch trim. So essentially with the documentation that comes with the aircraft, you are going to have to utilize that so that you have an accurate takeoff. So here we're taking off flaps 2 for the E-195, and we're going to find our weight. So here's the weight in kilograms and here's the weight in pounds. So let's zoom in just a little bit here for you guys. All right, and we said we were about 99.5 basically, so here's 99.2. And I feel confident about using these numbers here. Of course, I could add a knot to each one, which doesn't really matter. I mean, it's close enough in this aircraft. So our V1 is going to be 139, our V rotate 140, our climb out speed is 142, and our climb clean is 198. So those are the numbers that we are going to populate into the FMS. So here's our V1. We said that is at 139. Our V2 is 1 knot higher than that, so again, not a huge big difference. And our V2 is 142, so the aircraft is going to get up and climbing pretty quickly. And then of course 198 is that, and it's telling us a takeoff pitch of 11. Now that number here is not going to match what we're going to look at on our trims, but I'll show you basically what that means so that you can kind of figure it out. Again, so you're just going to scroll down. This is still in your takeoff information. So here was our flap stuff, and now we have to come down to our pitch trim settings, and then again make sure it's E-195 pitch trim settings for takeoff. And you can see here this is for flaps 2, so you do want to be very cautious about what you are selecting for this, because you can mess around and get into this, but you're doing it for flaps 1 as you see here, and we're not taking off flaps 1, so you're going to want to come down here to flaps 2. And then of course between 10 and 11 is what we're saying that the pitch should be. And now we need to go down and find our accurate weight, which again we're going to use, let's see here, this is jumping around, 195 pitch trim. Okay, we passed the weight actually. It's here, the weight's up here, 68. Okay, so we're going to use this weight right here, the 99. So between 10 and 11, I'm just going to assume our pitch trim up can be, let's say 1.6 up. Okay, so now that we know that, that's what we're going to need to do on this aircraft. It's going to be, let me highlight that for myself so I can reference it. Between these two, we're going to say 1.6 up. So that's exactly what we're going to put in. But before we do that, we'll have to have the APU on and that stuff. So you guys will have to remind me to get the pitch trim. Matter of fact, we need to come up now and let's go ahead and start looking at up top. This hydraulic pump A will need to be come into place. We don't need the red beacon on yet. Everything else, this is a pretty simple aircraft. But what we need to do now, folks, is start getting these doors closed because it's getting ready to go action time. We do not want to most certainly start the aircraft or the APU where the doors are open. So let's go ahead and use our trusty dusty feature here and close the doors. So we're going to close the baggage aft, the baggage forward, and the main cabin door so that all doors are closed. Now the cool thing about this parking space, normally we have to get a pushback, but we don't get a pushback here because this is one of those roundabout spaces, and they use these a lot in Europe, where the aircraft comes in and essentially turns around at the stand, and instead of it being a gate that's connected to the building, it's actually they pull the stairs up if need be, or some aircraft come down and have the stairs built into the door, and the passengers embark or disembark based off of that. So that's a wonderful thing here. So we can most certainly just come up and put our red beacon on, let people know there are some things about to happen with the aircraft. So let's go ahead and turn our APU on. We'll turn it to start, and it'll start doing its thing. Now if we come over here and take a look, you'll see that the APU is coming up right here. So we do have some type of indication as what it's doing and when it's available. So we'll wait for that to happen. And you can see some stuff is coming up here. Now it's at 100%. So we will most certainly come back up top and make sure that now it automatically connects. So just know that too. If I click this APU gen, it's actually going to turn it off. You see it now says available but not in use. So essentially we can get rid of the ground power unit, which we will do. In the meantime, we're also going to turn on this electric pump A for our hydraulics so that we can actually mess with the trims. Let's come here and get rid of the GPU. Okay, so all we need to do is disconnect it here. So the GPU has essentially went bye-bye. All right, GPU is bye-bye. Now what we can do is let's go ahead and put our climb up. So we are going to climb all the way up to flight level 340, unrestricted, of course, just because there is no air traffic control. So we get to essentially manage our own destiny. So we'll keep this going here, and you can look in the primary flight display and see the FL number moving. We're at flight level 27 now, 289er, going on up. Not much to go, so thank you for your patience. All right, now we also want to put that runway heading in. Let me get a little bit of a different view here. Okay, so runway heading here, we're going to put that bad boy in, and we said that was going to be 322. All right. Okay, 322 is in for our runway heading. And then of course with the FMS here, we still need to do some work here. So we also need to make sure that we hit our FMS button. Right now it's following the nav1 or VOR1, so we need to hit this to where it says FMS, and we've done so, and you can see the flight director is already on there. Okay, man, we're cooking with Crisco here. So as far as we're concerned, our pitch takeoff trim is at 11, so let's fix that up now. So, and it's 11 up. So, I'm sorry, it's going to be 2.6 up. So you see here the trims. So let's go ahead and go up on the trims. And if you hold it too long, it's going to give you a notification that the trims, the elevators, and we said it was only 1.6 up. I was about to go to 2. So we'll do 1.7. Yeah, so we'll do 1.6 on the trims up, and that should be fine. And you see it says it's up. So we've essentially taken care of our trims. And we can get ready to get out of here now, folks. There's nothing to do. Let's check the VATSIM scope before we get the engine started, and let's get out of here. So this is going to be super simple for us. All right, just pulling up the information here so you guys can basically see that there is a nobody in the skies today. If we make this a little bigger, pull this down, we'll see that this gentleman is on the way to the old airport we went to, which is in Tokyo. But if you come look over here, our route is essentially super easy. Here is our departure runway, and this person is passing by. So we are the only person here, one departure, and here it looks like there's only one arrival, which is us. So our route is a southwestern route today. Super simple. We'll be mainly crossing over some bodies of water, of course, here, over some more island, and then back onto the Japan island over here, coming into Nagasaki. Our alternate is going to be down here, which is the Fukuoka. It's not going to show up, even though it's in our flight plan. They only put the active airports that our people are departing from or arriving from. They don't put the alternates. So we're good there. So not a whole lot going on in the Japan Airways right now, which is kind of standard with the COVID environment. So let's keep rocking and rolling. All right, the APU is on, so let's make sure our parking brake is all set and good to go. This is the parking brake here, which is not set, so let's make sure that's set. And typically they have it off just simply because the tug up here requires, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This aircraft doesn't play well with better pushback, which is a plug-in for X-Plane, but it has its own plug, and so to engage tow, release the parking brake. That's why it was off, but I put it on because we're absolutely not using the tug, but we will leave the rest of these effects on, so we are good to go. All right, without further ado, let's jump up top, make sure once again our red beacon is on, everything is on, fasten seat belts are on, and our emergency lights are armed. So let's go ahead and start engine number 2. So we're just going to click that open. The ignition processes stay in the auto. So now we just click this bad boy over and come over to start, and this dust cover will close itself by itself. You can see here we've got the aircraft initializing. The engine is coming up. You can see it's utilizing ignition Bravo. That's what it chose in its auto when you heard the dust cover to the ignition close. So essentially we can come back down and do that for engine number 1. Alright, let's get this bad boy started. And again, we're going to come over here and monitor that engine. And it is coming up, and it is utilizing ignition A. And we should be hearing that close itself down here in a second, and we did. So now again the generators are also automatic here, so there's nothing to do. As you can see, electric AC power is to auto. So essentially right now we can turn off the APU and you can see the power transferred over to the generators. So we are good. APU is off. Now you can also see here that the APU is shutting down and the fuel door that the APU utilizes is closing down. Parking brake is set. Steering is off. So let's turn the steering on by clicking this little guy here. And now we are going to get our flaps down to take off. And we're also going to make sure they are set and indicating. So they are set here on the lower pedestal as well as indicating here. Let's also jump down to the lower pedestal and make sure our comms paddle is all good to go. We look like we are transmitting and able to receive on this right here. And we also need to get our squawk code punched in there. So let me just double check one thing here up top. Alright, and we're going to put in a squawk code, and this aircraft is pretty nice too because all the radios, and we don't have to even use the lower pedestal unless we want to tweak the radio volumes or get comms 2 going, maybe to get the ATIS or whatever the case may be. We do it all right here. So we are going to also do, we're going to put our transponder on, and we're just going to use the VATSIM standard IFR transponder of 2200. We are broadcasting on the Unicom, which is the basic standard general channel that we'll use on VATSIM if there's no ATC to communicate amongst ourselves as pilots. Now in the real world, even on Pilot Edge, you will need to look at the actual Unicom or CTAP frequency because it will be off the real chart. VATSIM, again, great network, great immersion, but there are some things that they do to make it simpler for folks instead of using the charts and all that stuff, and it may have to do with, you know, server space and all that. I don't know, but anyway, I love it still. So, and then if you come over here, there is a comms page too. This is where you can look at your ADF information over here if you were going to use a ADF for any type of navigation. In this case, we're not, so this is good for us. All right, now looking at everything, let's most certainly check our flaps 2 speed. So right now, if we were to do flight level change right here, you see it's at 200 knots, so we're good there. And of course, one thing that we should also do is go ahead and check the route just to make sure it is good, and then we need to do a flight controls check. So if we want to check the route, we have to essentially come here, go into the plan mode, and we need to back this up a little bit. Okay, so that we can see exactly what, maybe we'll punch it over. And this is just the range that we're using. And then, of course, we need to come down here to our flight plan, and then we need to step through it. So now I'm going to be using this step button just like the Boeing 737-800 when we did it, but we'll do it for this one, and it'll show our route here so that we make sure it doesn't look funny. So let's step through, come down. All right, then we go into our southwestern route. There's our top of climb, meaning this is when we should be done climbing the aircraft, and we should be at flight level 340. And as you can see, the top of descent came up pretty quick, and then we're right into our arrival, and that looks awesome, folks. And then we'll get the runway put in there, so no worries there. Let's jump back down here and get that range fixed up. All right, now we also need to come down here and make sure our TCAS is on. And you can only choose one, so the weather's not doing too bad, so we'll choose TCAS. And let's also come over here and make sure all of our, let's see, weather, let's put the TCAS on there. Maybe we'll do some terrain and have the TCAS on there as well with our vertical profile, progress, nav aids. We'll keep all of that. And of course, let's go to the first officer side, and we're going to do a flight controls check. Now, here again is our information. Japan Air 318, our current weight. Right now, all the doors are green and checked and cross-checked. Now we need to do our flight controls here. So what we're essentially going to do is just change the screen to flight control. And let's go ahead and do our elevator first. So we'll go full up. And we'll go full down. All right. And then we'll do aileron left. And then aileron right. And then we'll do rudder left. And rudder right. All right, folks, to me that looks fantastic. So let's go back here now, and then we're just going to do a quick run through to make sure everything is reporting well. Hydraulics, everything is in the green there. Our fuel is flowing well. We've used 97 pounds of fuel already sitting here idling, so we need to get out of here. Here's our electrical. Everything is green. And our ECS, there's nothing there, of course, which is good, and no anti-icing is on right now, which it is automatic. So we'll go back up and keep this in the system status here. That way we don't have anything to worry about, folks. And of course, you guys need to make sure I hit this chronometer once we hit the runway. So if you're watching, please morph it into my head to hit that chronometer. So without further ado, folks, let us not belabor this process, because I believe we are ready to go. We're simply going to turn right and head down to the main taxiway Echo, and just take that all the way down until it goes to Bravo. So that's too easy. All right, final checks here. Since we didn't do an actual checklist, we do have our V speeds in. We have our barometric pressure set to 1026. The flight level or transition altitude here is 14,000 feet. We do most certainly have our flight level programmed in here. And today I'm going to probably bring it into the flight level change just to get us going right away, and then maybe even switch it into the verses and just go straight up. I'll see how I want to do that. And then of course we're going to be using our navigation, VNav, and our auto throttles, but we'll do all that once we get to the base of the runway and go from there. So having said that, I think we are most certainly good to go. And let me go back over to the first officer side, and there's one other thing we need to check. You see his is saying VOR2, so we need to put his into the FMS as well. And and then if we come down here to his side, the display, let's see, and we'll keep that, and we'll keep his on the, well, for takeoff we'll go ahead and put his here as well, and we'll increase that route so we can have a better view from his side if we want to look long term. So his is on his or hers, because whether it's a female or a male, I don't know, depending on who you are. And if you decide to sit in the first officer side, it's cool with me. Let me check in with the comments here. Nothing significant. Again, everybody on board right now, thank you for joining us here, and let's go ahead and start our taxi. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get our runway turnoff lights on, which this is the nose, and this side essentially is the runway turnoff, and we'll throw the logo on just because we're happy. All right, let's look at everything up top. Everything looks good. because it's on auto, and when it's on auto, it's a beautiful day, but you still always need to pay attention to what's happening. All right, let's look left and let's look right, and let's essentially head out. All right, let's come down here. Parking brake is released. All right, here we go. All right. Go out just the way we kind of came in. All right. We will be doing the cockpit sterile takeoff. So the cockpit, I'll turn the music off, and we'll be sterile for takeoff, of course. Now, one interesting thing about the sim world, each aircraft, you essentially have to find the center eye point of where the nose wheel is actually following the eye leads here. So it's always interesting on each aircraft to see exactly where that's at. And we're just going to ease right on over here, just checking a few things up top. All right. Alright, and we're just simply going to go ahead and ease out over here. Alright. And this is actually going to be taxiway, and we didn't even do our call out, so shame on us. I think we should have stayed straight there, but I think we should be able to use this one as well. Osaka traffic, Japan Air 318 is now taxiing on Echo, and then Bravo, and then Whiskey 1 for runway 32 left with departure for Osaka traffic. Okay, so let's make sure we told them we're on the right taxiway, which we are. It looks like it's Echo. So we will just pretend we did the right thing. This runway here you see right there is runway 32 right. We are not going to be using that at all. So, but we have to bypass it. So that's what we're going to do. Alright. Should be a pretty simple flight today, folks. Hopefully. Again, last flight really threw some curveballs at us, so we'll see what this one brings. Nice little taxi speed of 17 knots. Don't want to taxi too quick there. Alright, yep, and essentially we can take this all the way down. It's going to merge right into Bravo. So, how's everybody's week going so far? It's Tuesday. You guys pumped up for the holidays? I'm sure we all are. It's crazy that the holidays came around so quick with this COVID environment, but as we all know, life always goes on, folks, and it's about adapting and overcoming and making the best of things and staying positive. So I hope you all are keeping in the spirit of that, and you know, we will be okay. We will most certainly be okay. It's about just doing our due diligence here. Alright, let's see what we have coming up over here. Let's see. We don't want to make any moves. Let me see where this other taxi... Okay, so essentially we should be able to just merge here to the right. And there's nothing on final, so we won't worry about stopping or do any of that. We're just going to continue our taxi here. And this is going to bring us to runway 32 left. You can see that's the base of runway 34 right there, which we are most certainly bypassing on our wonderful little taxi here. So now we're going to make a little sharp left, and then we'll be parallel to runway 32 left. Alright, tap the brakes slightly. Make sure we're not going to tip over here. You have to be careful how fast you turn on these aircraft, since essentially it's like a tricycle. All right. All right, almost to the base of the runway. We're going full length, of course, so once it starts wrapping around, that's our indication that we're going to get ready to get out of here. All right. Mouse got caught up there. Tried to switch scene on me. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. We are getting ready for some action here. All right. We are most certainly going to stop any type of music now and get the cockpit nice and sterile. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for departure. Take your seats. All right. One thing that we didn't do was look at the departure, but we're just basically going to let the aircraft handle it while we climb unrestricted to flight level 340. Since there's no ATC, there's no need to do any other thing else, because those restrictions and everything is in place for that standard instant departure for aircraft spacing, and so that the air traffic controllers know how many aircraft they can get in the sky at one time leaving the airport on this departure and other departures. So we don't need to worry about that, because we are a self-contained unit, if you will. Alright, I did the weather report over the whole flight. Weather looks nice and clear over Japan's airspace. Again, you never know what can happen, so we'll see. Never say never in this sim world. You don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, we got a first-hand account of that on our last stream. It's a little bonus word, stream, for stream. Don't try to look that one up, folks. Alright, we're just going to follow this eye lead right away, all the way around. And as soon as we kind of straighten up, we'll let it coast a little bit and we'll get our lights on, and then we'll get out of here, basically. Alright, chronometer, 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 chronometer. Chronometer, and then chronometer again. That's me reminding myself to put the chronometer on. Alright. Slight little break there. As I said, we're going to just do a coast here. Let me kind of get the aircraft where it needs to be. Alright, we'll just let her coast nice and easy. And of course, let's do lights on. And we're going to go for strobe on. And of course, we can just keep going. We're going to put our nav on. Our auto throttles are on. And I'm waiting to hit this chronometer, folks, button. I'm waiting to hit this chronometer, folks. This little button. I'm excited. I remembered this time. I don't know if I should get a cookie for this. I'm going to tell my wife I actually did it, so I need to get a cookie for this, y'all. This is a big thing. Alright. Boom! We did it! I feel like a celebration is in order. No checklist, no flows. Normally, if I was, being tested or really going to do, real immersive all the way flight, of course I would do it. But it's Tuesday, folks, and it's the holiday season, and this is a virtual world. So, we are going to leave it as is. Pause track IR. Alright. And we are lined up. Osaka traffic, Japan Air 318, departing runway 32 left, climbing unrestricted up to flight level 340 for Osaka traffic. Alright, advance the power. We don't want it to go red. Alright, 80 knots. Downward pressure on the yoke so we don't lift up. V1 and rotate. So coming up nice and smooth, folks. Landing gear is coming up this time. All right. Now essentially we can start our turn. Onto course heading. All right. Go one stage, flaps up. Track IR is coming on. Let's go for that autopilot. All right, and we're going to do flight level change. All right, folks, and last stage of flaps are coming up. Busy, busy, busy. Nice little view of the Osaka area. And actually, it's Itam is the name of the city, and it's Osaka International Airport. So you can see some downtown buildings there. All right, aircraft is climbing best speed. And as you can see here, we're only doing 191 knots. That's because we are controlling the speed, which at times I prefer. So now I'm going to go ahead and increase that speed. We'll get 230 because the aircraft is going to have to pitch down slightly for that, as you can see. All right, let's do our after takeoff checks really quick. The landing gear is up. All lights are extinguished, meaning they are in their bays. And flaps are up. As you can see, there's nothing indicating here for flaps. So flaps are at flap 0, and they are set to flap 0 as you see here. Osaka traffic, Japan Air 318 is clear of runway 32 left, climbing unrestricted. Flight level 340. Alright, so we made that notification, and now let's go ahead and step this up to 250, which is our authorized speed under 10,000 feet. Alright, beautiful departure, folks. Beautiful departure. Once we get on course, we'll do our normal planning, and then we'll start chit-chatting a little bit. I'll be able to pay more attention. So far, so good. Getting flying time today is going to be about an hour and 20 minutes. Alright, making our turn on course. Let's just sit here and enjoy this view for a second. Alright, this is the joy of flying, folks. Being able to take your virtual scenery, pretend it's real, and enjoy it. And that's what I'm doing. Oh man, that was such a beautiful turn there. Lots to see. Alright, we are above 10,000 feet, so we can go ahead and pick up on the speed and get the landing lights off. So let's do one thing at a time. Landing lights off, nose and taxi off, and strobes are on. I was just making sure they look like they're off, but they're on. We had got them on. We did the right thing. Alright, now we can increase the speed. You're going to see the aircraft pitch down. And we'll just increase it to about 280. Alright, before we start doing any planning and anything else, let me check on you guys and see how you're doing. I'll give you guys a little view here, and we'll get some music on. Alright, so far so good. So far so good. Everybody's staying pretty calm. I must be doing something right. Alright, flaps are up. Alright, let's get some illumination in here too. There we go. Just brighten up these displays a little bit. And you can see she likes to climb. She has no problem climbing nice and quick. She's got a 3,000 feet per minute climb on the vertical speed, so that's amazing. All right, let us get some jams going on. All right. All right. Yeah, and if we don't do a whole lot of talking this flight, we're going to do a whole lot of rocking out. Hopefully you guys can hear that over this aircraft noise. Hopefully I mixed it in right. If you guys can't hear it, let me know. So I want you guys to bounce your head too on a Tuesday. Keep that positive energy going. We had a pretty good departure. Let's hope for a pretty good arrival. All right. Now what we can do is, let's look at this animal. We'll use the first officer side, of course. Let's see here. Let's make sure his stuff is turned up. There we go. Turn up his PFD there. Now we're going to come over here and take a look here. We'll leave it in this mode. Let's zoom out a little bit just so we can get an idea of... well, I guess you can't zoom out on his side. It's missing a feet. Oh, here it is. It's just dark. I'm just kidding. All right. So if you see here, there's the top of climb. And after that, let's see how far out the top of descent is. And then you can see here is the top of climb and here's the top of descent. So we're not going to be cruising for a whole long time. So we'll probably be doing some planning now on our ascent, which is fine. Let's leave that about right there where that's at. Come back over to our side. All right. And we'll increase our range too as well. All right. Now let's jump back really quick and see how you guys are doing if you're not the first officer. All right. Nice smooth level flight with a nice little climb here. It's off the right wing. And off of our left wing. So it's two scenic views here. Kind of loud back here in the cabin. But enough of that madness. Let's continue our climb. And we are doing well. Alright. As far as our overall route is concerned, this is what we're looking at. So here is our departure, this basically magenta line, and then the route comes right into here, of course with top of descent in there, and then here's our arrival into the area. If we want to take a look at what runways we have, because we're getting ready to check the winds. Let's see, RJFU. All right, let's look at our... That's the briefing page. Okay, this must be it. Each time it's different. So here's Nagasaki, and as you can see, very simple. We're either going to land south or north. So there's not a whole lot going on here at this airport. So it's pretty simple. One strip of runway and one taxiway. So that ought to be interesting, which makes sense why this aircraft is been chosen for this, because it's a smaller regional aircraft. And then of course it has us arriving. I don't even know if what we have is an actual star. So the Fubuki, oh, I'm on SIDS, there we go. Okay, so here's the Fubuki, and our transition is Ogi or Agi. So we're basically coming in from the northeast, traveling southwest, and we need to be above 11,000. So we'll take a look at some of these in the FMS to make sure it makes sense. And so this is basically designed for a southern landing, coming from this direction, unless we decide to make a northern landing. So it's pretty simple, because there's only the one strip of runway. And then let's look at the type of approaches that we have. If we use runway 14, which is the southern runway, we are going to most certainly use RNAV or VOR or VFR arrival, visual. And then, of course, it looks like 32 is the more utilized runway because it does have a localizer Zulu or an ILS Zulu on there. So there's that. Either one of those, we're going to use those for visual reference. So let's go ahead and take a look at what our weather is at before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Aircraft is climbing nicely at flight level 266 or 26,600 feet and climbing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check on our weather. All right, let's type the old RJFU in for Nagasaki. And the winds are out of the south, and they've been out of the south all day long. All day long. As you can see here, it's VFR conditions. It was modified VFR, so there was some clouds and stuff going on earlier, so hopefully it stays this way. We got the speed of the wind at 9 knots coming out of the south, and the QNH is 1025. Now, one thing that we do need to do is put this into the standard altitude or standard QNH pressure, which I didn't do since I was blabbing. So both sides go to standard, which is good. And we've only been airborne about 12 minutes, folks, since I did finally hit that chronometer. Hope everybody, again, is doing well out there. And again, we're just going to keep rolling along. Top of climb is not that far out at all. It's about 40 nautical miles out or so. So we can continue to plan. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up the arrival on my chart up top, and I'm just going to double check some of the waypoints in the FMS. So now if we come here to the flight plan, the first notable one is going to be our transition point of Augie, which is right here, and it does have it calculated above 11,000. And essentially the middle points I checked, but I'll go to the last point, which is let's see, it's got Augie, but then it transitions into the northern landing. So we'll have to make sure that once we get direct Augie, that we put in the arrival information to the runway, essentially, because this arrival here has us basically coming in for a northern landing, which is not going to be the case. So that'll get interesting as we get closer. We're not going to worry about it right now. And let's see if we can get some estimated landing weight. So if we come here to the progress, so if you look here, essentially how much fuel is left on board, we take that basically and minus that from our overall fuel. So if I wanted to estimate how many pounds of fuel that we have in the aircraft on landing as it stands right now, which I'm not going to do, because it's burning a lot more because the engines are still being utilized to ascend the aircraft or climb the aircraft. But once we get to level flight and everything kind of normalizes out, I'll take a look at that estimated fuel amount at the field. But then essentially all I have to do is come over here to the system status, and then or I can take the overall amount of fuel that we had, which was 12,400 pounds, subtract the estimated fuel there, and then just take that from the overall gross weight that we were, and that is going to determine our landing weight, because we are going to have to use that chart again, of course. That chart, we can't get away from it because the FMS will not calculate our landing speeds. So essentially, what is this guy talking about? I'm going to show you what we are talking about. Alright, so back into this chart. We're done with takeoff information, so we're just going to scroll down to our landing information. So whether we land at flaps 5, and then you got to make sure it's the right aircraft. This is for the E-170. And here's E-195 flaps 5. So essentially, let's say, we started with 12.4 on fuel, and we're going to be at 7. So that's a disparity of 5,000 pounds, 5,400 pounds. From 99, so we'll say that's 94. So I'm guessing this is going to be our landing weights right here. So essentially our VREF is the most important speed, which will calculate 140. Then we'll add the winds aloft, to this to get our approach speed, and then of course this is our climb out speed, and then this is our climb or cruise clean at 196. So those are the V speeds that I am calculating that, or anticipating that we will most certainly have in there. All right, cruising right along. Okie dokie. So let's start seeing if we want to put this in the VNAV feature, but before we do that, let's look at the disparity in the climb. So we're at 280 at 0.76 Mach. If we were to put it in the VNAV right now, the aircraft essentially would increase its speed by 10 knots, which I think we can do. So let's get it on that first before we switch it over to the aircraft controlling it. Alright, so essentially the aircraft is going to try to pick up this speed now, so that's in motion. So what I'm going to do, and I have to sometimes come over here because this thing is very iffy. Now what we're going to do, see, we've been controlling the speed in manual, so now all I have to do is take this and hopefully bring it over. There we go. Now it's brought over to where the aircraft is going to control it, and now I can hit the VNAV feature. And as you can see, the aircraft didn't make any huge drastic change. We're still climbing. It still wants to look for that speed of Mach 0.78, and there is nothing rough about that transition. Now, I don't know if it was a glitch in this aircraft before, but I would take off and go to VNAV essentially when I started ladder navigation upon executing the autopilot, and the plane would pitch up and down like crazy. So with this aircraft, I don't know if it's got to be a sim problem or a glitch. I usually climb it, flight level change or vertical speed mode, and then I get it over. Once I get up high enough and make sure the speeds will match up, I switch it over to the VNAV. And why that's good, we can have the aircraft descend for us. We just need to modify the altimeter or the flight level target altitude, and then we go down to that altitude and the aircraft will fly it, because now it's using lateral navigation based off the FMS and vertical navigation based off the FMS. So I'm really hoping we can do a visual landing, but if not, I'll show you guys how to do an ILS landing in this aircraft. And this aircraft can actually land itself. I've never done it. I always like to do it, but it can. It does have the capacity to do a Cat 3 landing, and it can land itself essentially. So pretty smart aircraft the Brazilians have designed here. Let's check out the stream. How's everybody doing out there? Thanks for staying on board with this awesome flight. And we're going to cruise along. And so we are almost at top of climb. And again, we can basically, once the aircraft smooths out, again, we'll be able to really look at our top of descent. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so there's top of climb. That's not top of descent, that's something else. So this outer band, you can imagine, is 40 nautical miles, so that's 40 nautical miles. But the aircraft should tell us where top of descent is going to be once we level out and get our wings all leveled out. And you can see the vertical profile here. So this is our vertical profile here, which I love this about this aircraft. So essentially the green line is how we are pitched up. The magenta line is where the aircraft should be at each waypoint. And so essentially as the points come across, the green line and the magenta line should always marry up. Otherwise we're off on our ascent or descent or whatever it is. So you can see we're almost there at level flight. We got just about 300 and looks like 40 knots or so to, feet to go. So no big deal. So the aircraft is handling itself rather well. Again, let's do our checks here and just make sure there is no cause for concern. And let's make sure that we are getting a radar return on the VATSIM network. And we are. For a second I didn't see us. I was like, where are we at? So here we are, folks. Japan Airlines 318. And we're cruising. Alright. Doing great, everybody. I mean, we got it up. It's looking great. Looks like we're going to have a nice short stream, nice flight here. So the aircraft is trying to achieve Mach 0.78. You can see it slowly climbing towards that speed. Then, of course, we can come down here and go to our progress page now. Still not reporting our top of descent. And there's our top of descent, folks. 17 or now 16 minutes, back to 17 minutes, but we have 134.6 nautical miles to top of descent. So that's a good thing. So that's too easy. So we'll anticipate if you guys want to take a break and walk away in 15 minutes, you guys can return. And if you look at the old chronometer, in 15 minutes, it will be essentially 3:30 on this for the UTC 3:30. So that's the time we're going to start descending, because other than that, I think we've done most of our planning. Again, on the descent, as we get closer, we'll just need to make sure the aircraft, we'll check our weather one more time and then get into the field. And it's such a small field, we can pretty much park at any gate. I looked for the information for this flight, and let's pull that up really quick. I looked at the information for this flight, and there basically was nothing. So the normal flight is 2371. Let's bring that in here. So here's Japan Airlines 2371. As you see, when it leaves Osaka, it's at gate 24, which we were. Let me widen this out a little bit. And it just says landed here. It doesn't give a gate, as you can see. So total travel time for them was about 1 hour and 26 minutes. Ours should be about 1 hour 20. We'll see what our chronometer says. And same route. Same route. So it's pretty cool that you can take a look at their information about that flight. So again, we're just going to park at any gate because it's such a small terminal. There's no reason not to. And I'll just keep the weather up there. And again, we're going to be cruising along here. Alright, so I'm going to bring you guys over to this side so that we can cruise along. Let's go ahead and put this on the map mode. And let's decrease our range slightly. And we'll leave it to the 40 as well. I don't like the 20. Alright, as you can see here, we still have no cause for concern. It's still over 100 nautical miles for our top of descent. So aircraft is doing great. I hope you guys are doing great. Now we can sit and cruise, jam out to some music. So you guys know how I like to do it. I'm going to leave you guys in charge for a hot second. You guys cruise right along. I like to allow you guys to have an opportunity to fly the aircraft as well without me, which is essentially everyone can get up, take a quick break. I'll be monitoring the aircraft, and we should be pretty smooth here. So again, around this UTC here, 330 is roundabout when we'll start our descent, but you'll also see it here as well. So just bounce your heads and let's keep flying right along. All right, we are still doing good, cruising right along. Let's turn this música down a little bit. All right, you guys let me know if that is too loud and I will turn it down. In the meantime, let's come over here and notice that we've got some little turbulence happening here. Let's see here. All right, we still got about 7 minutes to top a descent. So what we're going to do, folks, because we have such a straight line, we are essentially going to make sure we have that arrival. So what we want to do is make sure we have the next waypoint in here, because what will happen is if you start messing with everything, the aircraft is going to get lost in terms of where it's at. So once we get direct to Hizet, we're going to put the aircraft into the heading mode, and we're going to mess with the FMS to get our southern landing all straightened up. So all right, in the meantime, what we need to do is come right over here. Now our heading is squared up. So now that our heading is all squared up, let me check the weather one more time. And after checking the weather, we'll be able to make that final determination as to if we're landing south or north. I still think it's going to be south, of course. And it's still VFR conditions. And let's see, Nagasaki. Actually, oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Let's see here. Let me refresh. I was actually looking at it, not scrolling down to today's date. All right, current MEDAR today 0300 Zulu 12. It's still out of the south. It's 6 knots. QNH is 1025. So let's make sure this heading is squared up. All right, now let's switch it to the heading mode. Now heading mode is activated, so whatever we do now in the FMS is not going to impact anything. So now we need to go in here until the arrival. All of this is still activated, so we don't need to mess with that. We just need to say we're going to do the RNAV approach from Saruk. And let me make sure. I think it's Saruk is it. That's the only option, so let's click that and let's activate that. Now let's go back and look at our flight plan. Boom, boom. So now this is the last one. So now I'm going to look at the approach, of course, and I'll show all this to you guys. So what are we looking at here is what we're saying. All right, let's bring this bad boy in. All right, here we go. So what we're saying is that we're coming on the Fubuki, and Saruk is our transition point on the way in. So essentially we have to tell the aircraft from Agi on down that it's Saruk. So after Agi, whatever waypoint we have in there, we're going to throw in Saruk. And then after that, you can look at the RNAV approach here. And that's basically what it is, straight in. Which, if it's visual, we're going to take it visual, of course. So let us make that happen. So from Saruk, we're plugging that in right after this waypoint. So we'll plug it in right where Patty goes. Now we activate that. Now, folks, we have ourselves, and we'll check it in the flight plan as well. Now we come back over here and go to nav, and we're back right on nav. Never missed a beat. Now, essentially, let us do the plan mode, and of course we need to step it down. So it looks pretty good. We're going to come down here, come all the way around, hook around, and be direct. So the plan looks good, feels good, tastes good. Let's step through it. Nice. I like it a lot. Let's go back here to the flight plan. Now let's step through. There's Saruk. Then right here, which is basically we're on base, and then we turn the final right here at Tenbo. And at Tenbo, we should be at 2,400 feet. So now we need to come down here and just make sure at Tenbo we're at 2,400 feet. And there we go. So as we start getting ready to descend, let's look at our progress. And we should be descending now, essentially, because we changed that up. So let's get on that. And we'll just do this manually. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plan our own descent based off of what we know we need to see. So first point to pay attention to is we need to be at Acti, because at Augie we need to be at 11,000, which is essentially the only thing we need to worry about is above 11,000. So that's what we're going to do. So now we're going to put this altitude selector to 11,000. Yeah, I don't know why it did that, but let's go ahead and start our descent. All right. So we need to be above 11,000 at Augie. And as you can see, we will be. So the aircraft, we are now descending, and we essentially have a nice flight plan here. There's not a whole lot we got to do, folks. We just have to make sure that we look at our V speeds and all that good stuff. So another thing that we can do, like we talked about before, is we can most certainly start anticipating our landing weight is our landing fuel on board is 7,100 pounds. So that's a disparity again. You know, 7 to 12 is 5,000 pounds, and it was about 400 extra pounds after the 12,000. So we'll just say we need to subtract 5,400 from 99. 99 minus 5 is what? 94. So I think those V speeds were correct that we anticipated on. So let's get that set up, which the VREF is going to be 138. So now we need to come over here to perf and get landing information in there. So the VREF is going to be 138. And again, based off the prevailing winds, or 6 knots, the V approach will be right at 145. And of course, the climb out, in case we do go missed, is going to be 161. And then back for our VFS speed, which is going to be 194. So now we have our landing data programmed in. And let's see here. Acti, Augie above 11, and Saruk at above 3,700 feet. All right. We're definitely there. And then if we come over here and look at, let's see, after Saruk, that's above 37, Tenbo's above 24. So let's get it to about where it's going to be above 24. All right, and then our last waypoint. Once we get there, we'll figure out what we need to do with the altitude. So now we need to bring the speed back because we're about to overspeed. So we'll bring it back so that we don't get that barber's pole. And let's switch it over to speed. And we'll go about 290. As if you guys remember, that was our descent speed that we were supposed to adhere to. Remember, the QNH is going to be 1025. And looks like we are still doing good. All right. Cruising right along. What a beautiful view we have. Now the runway is only 9,000 feet, so let's get a pretty aggressive medium auto brake for our arrival. And once we reel it in and get a little closer, we'll change the range there. All right. Let's check that VATSIM radar. And there's nobody at the field. We'll still do maybe on final hour call-outs, but boy, there is no one around, as you can see. Just us and this person way over here. So everybody's on the ground shopping apparently for the Christmas. All right. Rolling right along, folks. So we pretty much have the aircraft ready for our arrival, 14,000 feet. We need to put our barometric pressure, QNH, into the 1025 setting. And just sit back and relax and let the aircraft do its thing. Alright, now we are making our left turn to Agi. Alright, let's take a look here what this is talking about. Saruk. Let's look at that plan mode again. Alright, so here at Tinbo. So this was what was looking confusing. Let me pause the track IR. So we were coming in, it almost looked like it was trying to do this, but after Saruk, here's Tinbo. And then we make a strong, basically 90-degree turn and come into the runway here. So we definitely need to make sure we're also slowing down as well. If we take a look at the map, there goes Agi. And you can see we're only 52 nautical miles away from the field. Let's see here. So there's our strong left turn there. It just looks jumbled in there. So essentially, We need to make it go all the way down. See, 2400. Let me see after Tenbo what is the arrival saying, or the approach I should say, for the RNAV. Okay, at Omran we should be at 1600 feet, which is basically when we're supposed to catch that glide slope. So let us get this down to where it says 1600 feet. Actually, no, we'll leave it there because it still will be there right at Saruk. So, that'll work. We'll just keep this, literally this descent profile going. And the aircraft will pass that at 2400 and then be getting close enough to... Alright, folks, we're going to start slowing our speed down a little bit. Going to bring her down to 230 knots. And we can pretty much... nose up a little bit. Help us bleed some speed. Alright, and if not, let's go ahead and get some auto brakes, some spoilers out. So we'll look here. As you can see now, it's about half. Slowing down a bit. Bring them out to full, as you can see. So slow us down in that beautiful scenery. All right. Alright, let's go ahead and get those landing lights on. And we need to adhere to our transition altitude. We said it was 1025. And there we go. And of course we've slowed down significantly, so we can retract our speed brakes, as you see. Alright. Nagasaki traffic, Japan Air 318 descending on the Fubuki at 8,700, descending down for the RNAV approach 14, full stop for Nagasaki traffic. Alright, slowly but surely we're reeling it in, folks. You can see our right turn is coming up, so let's go ahead and slow the aircraft down again to about 210. Let's go ahead and deploy those brakes. You can see them coming up here, so we can get an aggressive slowdown. Alright. And I'm just basically decreasing the rate that we were descending at to make sure that we only, we don't want to be lower at these points than it states. So, alright, we can go ahead and take that parking brake. Take the spoilers down. Aircraft is not. We're only pitching down now at about 1,100 feet per minute. And of course we can come down here and make final preparations for landing. Alright, auto brakes are on. Let's cut any noise off, let's go to a stereo cockpit, of course. And the brakes are on. We have our V-speed set. Auto brakes to medium. And we've got our landing data all squared away. Let's take a look at the taxi chart, just so we know what we're doing once we get on the ground. Again, once we get on the ground, folks, we are coming in runway 14, or the southern runway, so we just need to make a left anywhere and come to the terminal. So it's super simple. Get on the runway, go to the left. Not too many worries there. Again, hopefully we don't have any emergencies. But having said that, it looks like we're basically going to be okay. From the looks of this and the terrain, the runway should roughly be somewhere over here. We will check that out though, of course. Let's see if we can get any visual on that. Alright, let's bring that speed back now to 190. And once that speed bleeds, of course, we can most certainly get our flaps down, because the flaps 1/6 inch is 230 knots. All right. Curious to see where this field is at. Looks to be right here, folks. So we're going to come on this runway here and go left. So I did find it somehow, some way. So this is the actual field right here. This is another field that we're not going to. Alright, speed check, flaps 1. And we're going to bring our speed back to 170 now, folks. Preparation for landing. Alright, let's get back on that approach. And Omron should be at 1,600 feet. So we're definitely going to adhere to that. So this thing is a very short final, folks, and it is visual. So that's the field over there. So I'm thinking we can take this thing manual from here. What do you guys think? You ready to have some fun? Alright. Let's do a quick check. Landing lights, everything is on for our arrival. So without further ado, folks. Oh, let me fix my situation there. Let's go we're going to go gear down. And speed check flaps 2. And let's go all the way down to our approach speed of 145. And let me double check. I believe that was for flaps 5. Alright, folks, and the field is definitely over there. Alright, let's go ahead and take it manual. And we'll go ahead and also extinguish the auto throttle. Alright, let's keep our speed up. Pitching the aircraft down. Double check landing gear is down 3 green, flaps are to 5. And we are looking good on the landing lights. Alright, we got a nice little approach speed there. Let's make our flight director happy and follow it. Back on the speed. Alright, pulling back on the power slightly. Just below our speed we need to be. It's these winds. Alright, and we're just going to do all visual now, folks. So we're going to ignore the flight director. The winds aren't too bad. They're actually off of our tail. They must have switched. Well, they're variable is the problem. Alright. And back on the power, of course. Alright. Kind of where we need to be. Alright, coming right down to VREF. See if we can get line straight up. Slightly below VREF.
100. Think rate, think rate, think rate, think rate. 50.
Alright.
40. 30. 20.
Kind of floating her a little bit. There we are. Alright. Reversers are on. That was kind of a very sloppy landing. And coming to a complete stop for whatever reason. Come on, you could do it. Alright. Looks like the brakes engaged. Not the best landing, but we made it down. Kind of sloppy. Those winds were pushing us only at 6 knots from the back, but it seemed like it was super floaty. Either way, we got a great landing with a little bounce. We'll check it out. We have made it into the Nagasaki area. And of course, we know it's an easy taxi. All right. Come right over here and clean the aircraft up, of course. Let's go ahead and get those flaps up. All right. And we can come over and get the landing lights off. And the strobe, of course, and taxi on in. We won't make any announcements since we didn't do so anyway on final. There's no one here. It's a ghost town. Just us and our E-195. Short landing, bit of a better landing, or short flight, I should say. A bit of a better landing than it was last time with no issues. It was kind of a sloppy touchdown for sure. We can do better. We have done better. We will do better. And, yeah. But nonetheless, bouncy, still made for a decent landing on the feet per minute touching down, so it wasn't too bad. And that's it, folks. That is our Tuesday flight here. We are going to just pick a gate here and ease on in. All right. We'll come over here and just pull her straight in right here. Very far from the actual gate, but whatever. This aircraft doesn't even really require a gate. They'll just pull up some stairs to it. Alright, and we are most certainly getting ready for a replay. Alright, let's go. Park and brake up. Alright, see, for whatever reason now we got a parking brake issue. Come on. Come on, you could do it. Sim problems. There we go. Parking brake did not want to work out for us again. So our strobe is off. Now we can turn our taxis off, and we'll leave the red beacon on, and let's get ready for our replay. V1. Alright, as you can see, we had a pretty stable approach. Nothing too crazy. And we'll see how bad we bounce it on the arrival. And thank you, honey, for the landing part. And Chief Sim Pilot, thanks for joining back in. And whoever else is watching, I appreciate you. There really was no reason for this bouncy landing other than... and let's just see how bouncy it was here. We were nice and slow. Super floaty. I nosed up a little bit, trying to keep that flare. We had one little touch. So super bouncy. Not the best. Nonetheless, we made it. Nobody can tell us anything. Alright. Alright, let's go take a look at the another angle from it. I'll do the replay that my wife likes, and let's check that out. V2. So, definitely interesting landing. Definitely not my best work, but at least we didn't have any malfunctions or anything like last time, other than the parking brake not wanting to respond. So once again, we have managed to make it to another Japanese city, which this probably will be the last, until we decide to continue our world tour, eventually ending up back in the United States. But we have a lot of flying to do to keep heading, you know, to the other side of the world. So once again, thanks for flying along with us. Not the best landing, but for sure an enjoyable flight to do with you all on a Tuesday. I'll put up another notification on YouTube when the next flight is coming, and we'll figure out where we're landing then. Until then, I want you guys to stay safe, be kind to each other, and don't forget, if we wake up each day, that gives us a new opportunity, a new 24 hours to do something great, to help somebody out, and to change our lives for the better. So, public service announcement is done. Again, if you're one of these passengers on this plane landing, go ahead and sue Japan Air, because I really don't work for them. No, I'm just kidding. Virtually, that is. Anyway, take care. We'll see you guys on the next flight, and I'll just let it ride out to the gate. And be good. And thanks, Chief Sim Pilot, for the motivation on the rocky landing. Trust me, we're going to get it right on one of these streams. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Of course, thanks for the support. Couldn't do it without you guys. And looking forward to keep this stream thing going.